Richard John Grayson, also known as Nightwing, was the first boy wonder fighting crime alongside his mentor and adoptive father Batman. As Robin, Dick had successful runs with Batman as well as the Teen Titans, and at one point becoming the leader of the Teen Titans. After his fallout with Batman and after he was fired from his mantle of Robin, Dick Grayson moved to Bloodhaven and began his solo crime-fighting journey as Nightwing. Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. Azrach here, and today we're looking at another action figure review. And in this video, we're looking at the Batman Hush version of Nightwing. This is a highly anticipated figure for me as I had pre-ordered Dick on Jan 22nd, 2022. So it has been a long wait for me just to get my hands on this figure, so I apologize if I spent too long reviewing this figure. In terms of packaging, it is the exact same thing we would expect from Mafex. We've got like a big window opening up front where we can see Nightwing and all his accessories. There are some hidden parts behind the Hush logo here. But we've got a good big Batman Hush logo here. A good picture of Nightwing at the bottom there. It says Nightwing, Batman Hush action figure, Mafex, Medicom Toy, DC, all the logos at the bottom there. And it doesn't say the number of this figure. It should say it somewhere here, but let's have a quick look. On this side of the box, we've got the Batman Hush logo and the holographic sticker as well over here. And Nightwing visible from the back. On this side of the box, we've got the Batman Hush logo up here, Nightwing, Batman Hush version, and all the different solicitation pictures of Nightwing. And at the bottom, we've got some legal details. At the bottom here, we've got more legal details. On this side here, we've got the Batman Hush logo up top, a really nice picture of Nightwing in the action figure form, which is complete, and also the Nightwing Batman Hush version, which is Mafex number 175. So there we go, 175. And on top here, Batman Hush with a cool picture of Nightwing again. But this is like standard packaging, same as what we expect from all of the Mafex offerings. This Nightwing action figure stands roughly at 6.15 inches or 15.5 centimeters, and he should scale really well with the entire Hush line. And I'm really excited to get all the action figures together because I am like a big fan of the Hush line and I really want to complete my set. I'm still waiting for Poison Ivy and hopefully other solicitations if they come, but I want to have as many Hush figures as I can because I love the comics and I love the characters and designs by Jim Lee. So taking a closer look at Nightwing, he has a really good color scheme in terms of the black and blue being really clean, and the blue is also really I guess stands out, similar to I think Superman's colors, so that's a really nice blue. The face sculpt here is awesome. The paints for my figure at least have gone where they should, and the hair sculpt is very neatly done, and it separates or sits above the face a little bit, so it adds that dimension, which is really nice. Nightwing has more of a slender kind of body, which is I think a little bit more slender than Batman and Superman, so that works really well. Dick is more athletic and slender. He is a little bit smaller than Batman, or supposed to be at least. So when we do the comparisons, it should look really nice. He's got a lot of details in the ab section here. I think the sculpt is slightly different from Batman and Superman. It's not just like a scaled down version. So there is a little bit of a different sculpt going on here and there. The back also looks very muscular, but still nimble and agile. Everybody knows about the Dick butt. So Dick's basically behind is very well detailed and sculpted. Weird thing to talk about in an action figure review, but a lot of good musculature going on, a lot of good details, and everything seems to be done really well. There is like a separation of color at the boots as well. The boots look a little bit more shiny, and the blacks on the leotards are a little bit less shiny, so there is a little bit of a distinction. At least I think I can see that distinction. It might just be because the lips separating it that my mind's creating that illusion, but I don't think it is. I think there is a actual differentiation in color, which is really nice. The paint flowing through the body is very clean for my figure at least. I don't think I've seen any problems so far. So yeah, it's a really good looking sculpt and a lot of good paint details that are smoothly applied. I think not a lot of paint, but where it's applied smoothly, so I really like the aesthetics of this figure. The coolest thing about this Nightwing, for me at least, is that the back is a removable piece. So when we remove that, we get to see all the inner workings of this Nightwing and how the joints are designed. It is really helpful for me because I make action figures and I'm constantly looking for inspiration or ideas on how to make figures work. When in my figures, typically I have like a whole block that is like a bunch of resin creating the body block. Here it's like a small lip that's creating the body, and everything else is like the joints and internal stuff. So I might use that in my next figure, just to have like that little bit of resin saved when creating a figure. Nightwing basically comes with two back pieces, and on the left here is the back piece that you get with the figure, and on the right you get the Eskrima holding back piece, which fits in pretty neatly. Shouldn't be any issues there, and you basically have to push it in. It is very seamless, and it does not look like it's a removable back piece at all, so that's very well done. And it basically now allows you to add in the Eskrima sticks, and Nightwing has somewhere to put it on his body rather than having it in the box, so that's a nice little touch there. So Nightwing also comes with this emotive headpiece with that grimacing face, which adds a little bit of character and emotion to the figure. It is very different from the regular head sculpt, but this hair piece that is used looks to be, if not the same, very similar at least, because they look, well, I think they are a little bit different, because this hair piece here is flicking backwards, whereas this is curving inwards. So it might be like a different hair piece, but they're not very different. But the head sculpts definitely do give Nightwing like a different kind of look. Swapping out the heads are not that difficult. It's basically just a pop out and pop in. So with the angry head, Nightwing does look a little bit more emotive, which is really nice, and it captures that kind of anger really well, and it's a really nice look for Nightwing. Nightwing also comes with a pair of silver batons, and they are just silver batons with no additional details. Although they are very unicolored, they do add like a little bit of more flair when put on the Nightwing, and it adds a little bit of color because Nightwing is just black and blue, so that's really nice. And they're done well, but they don't have too much details on them, so I guess it serves a purpose. It's accurate to the comics, but it's nothing to write home about. Nightwing also comes with a pair of Eskrima sticks that have a wire going all the way through, and it's connecting the two Eskrima sticks. It's for posing, and it's basically a wire that can hold the pose, so you can use it for different kinds of posing and stuff like that. I will not be using it too much. I don't find a reason to use this extensively. I might use it in some pictures, but yeah, it's not something that I'll use extensively, I guess, but it's still a good thing to have in the box because it adds to that posability. Nightwing in the box also comes with a spinning baton kind of piece that is stuck to his hand at the moment. So he basically comes with a left and a right hand for the spinning effect piece. The pieces both have pegs on them, and they're really easy to swap out, so that's really nice. Now, apart from the fist hands that are on the body and the effect piece hands with the spinning batons, Nightwing also comes with these Eskrima stick holding hands. Basically, they have an allowance for the Eskrima stick and the paint going through, and the paint is really well done. He also comes with two chopping kind of hands that have the paint going through the middle as well. The paint again is really well done. It stops at the front, does not continue on to the palm of the hand. It's only at the back of the hand. Nightwing also comes with grabby, reaching out kind of hands, and they're also painted really nice. And finally, he comes with the more relaxed kind of hands that have also the paint going through the middle. So all the hands are very simple, but they have like good paint details on them, so it's really nice. Now, with all of that out of the way, let's get into the articulation of this figure. Nightwing can look up very decently and can bury the chin pretty much as well. There is some articulation at the neck, which is a little bit hard for me to trigger, so let's try that. It can go forward about that much and come back to about that much, and there is not much side to side because of the sculpted shoulder kind of muscles, but yeah, overall it's good in terms of articulation for the head. He can pretty much do what you would need him to do, and also have like attitude and emotion put into the head as well, which is really nice. With the chest articulation or the diaphragm articulation, he can crunch back about that much, really nice, crunch forward about that much, and with the waist he can do just a little bit more as well. That's really nice. Side to side, he can do some turning at the abdomen and also at the waist. With the shoulders, he can go all the way forward and up, but the butterfly piece is kind of getting in the way, but he can go all the way around, no issues. Butterfly can go up and down, in and out, no issues. Biceps joint can turn around, and it's not the best in terms of elbow crunch, but then it's still not that bad, so it's all right. The wrists move up and down and all the way around, so you can configure the fist to go whichever way you'd like. Hands can go up about that much laterally, which work well. You can force it a little bit higher if you're using the butterfly here, and the butterfly is very effective for most poses because you can bring his arms right across as well. And with the legs, you'll get a drop down hinge as per usual on a Mafex. The drop down does not elongate too much on this figure, but there's still a decent drop down. He can kick up about that much with the drop down. Without drop down, it should be a little bit less. Going back is limited because of the sculpted buns. But yeah, that's the drop down in action. It's not a big kind of drop down. It's not, well, it's a tiny amount, but it still gives you a little bit of range. He can kick out about that much. There is some movement in the upper thigh to rotate. There is a double joint in the knees that allows you to crunch it in that much. He can't kick his own buns. He can flex and bring his toes up that much, or his ankles, and the toes can crunch up pretty nice. So it's a good amount of articulation, similar to what we expect from a Mafex. Now with this action figure, before we get into the extensive height comparisons, we have an excellent opportunity to compare the Mafex Hush Nightwing to the DC Icons Hush Nightwing. Both of these figures are close to the 6-inch scale, and although the Mafex figure scales slightly larger than the DC Icons one, the DC Icons is still a great stand-in for the Mafex line. So if you have the DC Icons Nightwing, you would still be okay. But yeah, there are some differences. If you look at the domino mask, Nightwing on DC Icons is a black domino mask, whereas the Nightwing from Mafex is more black. I'm not sure which is more comic accurate, but I'll check right after this. And also the blue on the Nightwing from DC Icons runs a little bit darker, but I think there's still a very like-for-like comparison, and it's like very swappable. Like you could have either one and be happy. So we have confirmation from the comic book at the back there that Nightwing indeed has blue eyes, or the blue domino mask. So Mafex wins this one. But yeah, they're both very amazing action figures, and I think equally as good for both. The DC Icons action figure does have added articulation point here, where it can rotate at the upper like forearm, and also boot rotation, so boot cuff rotation. But yeah, I think they serve different purposes, but still this Nightwing from DC Icons is also a really good action figure. So here we have some of my Nightwing action figures on display so that we can compare it next to the Mafex Hush Nightwing in the middle. On the extreme left, we've got the McFarlane DC Multiverse red Nightwing from DC Rebirth, I think, and he's about 7 inches, so he's taller than the rest of the figures. Right next to him, we've got the DC Icons Nightwing, who scales comparable to the Mafex Nightwing, but slightly runs smaller. On the right, we've got the DC Rebirth Nightwing from Mattel DC Multiverse. So that figure is slightly bigger, but should be like 6.5 inches. I think just a little bit bigger in terms of comparing it to Mafex. And on the extreme right, we've got the DC Missions Nightwing, who is exactly, I think, 6 inches, so still a little bit smaller. So none of these Nightwings are like the same scale, but they're very similar, like at least 4 of them are. So I think, yeah, I mean, if you want different Nightwings, like you've got a variety of Nightwings to choose from, which is good. So here we have some more of the DC Icons action figures, and I think DC Icons runs a little bit smaller than Mafex, so it does look a little bit skewed, where Nightwing looks a little bit too big. But on the extreme left there, we've got the DC Icons Harley Quinn, excellent action figure. And I think because she's a female, it kind of scales okay with Nightwing. We've got Deathstroke from Rebirth right next to Harley Quinn, and Deathstroke I think runs a little bit small. Deathstroke is supposed to be a fully grown adult, whereas Nightwing is, I guess, late teens, but depends on when the story is being told. But Nightwing is slightly smaller than like the Batman type of characters, and Deathstroke is comparable to Batman in terms of height and size. So I think that Deathstroke should be a little bit bigger to compare with Nightwing, but we do have the DC icons Nightwing to go with the Deathstroke, so that kind of works there. DC Rebirth Batman to the right of Nightwing, and Batman is hunched over a little bit, so he does look a little bit too small. I think, yeah, Batman should be slightly taller than Nightwing. And on the extreme right there, we've got Cyborg with a lot of cybernetic accessories. That figure is awesome, man. He comes with so many different pieces and swap out pieces, so which is really nice. But yeah, again, DC Icons runs just a little bit small in comparison to Mafex. Next up, we've got some Mattel DCUC action figures next to Nightwing, and I think this is not a bad scale at all. So the Flash and the Superman from DCUC scale very well with Nightwing. Nightwing is slightly shorter, which is accurate to the comics, and I think the body in terms of girth also is similar. So this definitely works. So next up, we've got a bunch of action figures from DC Direct that are an absolute nightmare to stand. On the extreme left, we've got the DC Direct Hush version of Superman. The Superman is supposed to be 7 inches. I mean, all these action figures are supposed to be 7 inches other than Nightwing. So they do run either a little bit small or Nightwing is running a little bit tall, but basically the scale is not that off as I would expect it to be from a 7-inch to a 6-inch. The Hush Superman, I think, goes okay with the Nightwing, and the Batman next to Hush Superman is a Jim Lee variant Batman based on the Hush version of Batman, but with different deco, especially with the chest logo and the belt. So it's a different kind of Batman. I'm not sure exactly which version, but it's based on the Hush version of Batman from DC Direct. On the right of Nightwing, we have Hush Huntress, who is shorter than Nightwing and is supposed to be a 7-inch figure, so that scales actually pretty well, to be honest. So that's kind of surprising. Next to Huntress, we've got the Dark Knight Returns Batman that my wife basically redid in terms of sculpting and adding paint, and I think it looks incredible. So if you want to see that video, check out the link in the description box below. But yeah, basically that was a custom that we made, and it was a very fun project, and I've detailed some of the process in that video, so go check it out if you will. But other than that, I think these figures also scale well with Nightwing. If you look at the articulation scheme, we've come such a long way from the DC Direct days, and I'm so happy that we're moving into a phase where the articulation is there for us to allow a lot of posability, and it's not as limiting as we were in the DC Direct days. And finally, for everyone that have been waiting, thank you so much for sticking out. On the extreme left, we've got the Deathstroke action figure from Mezco, which is, I think, comparable to Mafex and a better Deathstroke for this Nightwing. Also next to Deathstroke, we've got the Hush version of Superman from Mafex and the Hush version of Batman from Mafex on the right, which is the blue version, and also Huntress from Hush. I think that these figures scale incredibly well with each other, and I'm so excited to get Nightwing posed and onto my shelf. But before that, we'll get into some poses for Nightwing and my thoughts on the figure. In conclusion, this Nightwing action figure from Mafex is a brilliant offering. It adds one more character to the Hush line, and the simple yet comic accurate design hits all the right notes with my heart. The paint is clean and the articulation is smooth, and Nightwing overall is a great action figure. It also gives me some insight on the inner workings of a Mafex figure, so I am glad that I got this figure so that I can explore that and incorporate it into my designs. And I honestly think that if you have a chance, you should definitely go out and buy this action figure because it's highly recommended and it's a brilliant action figure for Nightwing, and definitely will go really well with the Hush line of action figures from Mafex. And finally, thank you so much for watching this video. I hope it was insightful and helped you in your purchasing decision. If you want to let me know your thoughts about this Nightwing, please leave me a comment in the comment section below. If you like this video, hit that like button, and if you want to see more of my videos, please subscribe, and I hope to see you again in the next video.